Afternoon, and welcome to week 3 of My Life is a Mess. Although this week I'm not actually going to talk about my life because, on the global scale, the fact that I dropped the same beer 3 times, fell flat on my face in a coffee shop, and froze my garage door shut don't seem so important. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you're aware that we have a new president, and I'm sure you're also aware of the awesomeness that was the Women's March yesterday. Honestly, I'm still riding high on it, and it's given me a lot to think about. If you'd asked me 5 years ago if I consider myself a feminist, I probably would have pulled this face. Not, and that's not something I'm proud of, but honestly, my education in terms of feminism and its necessity and its place in the world was minimal. And it's super entitled of me to say this, but honestly, I, grew up in a pretty privileged situation. I thought the job was done. I knew there were some areas, FGM and that kind of thing, that still needed, work doing. But I honestly thought that as a white middle class woman in a first world country, that all I needed to do was try hard and what I was owed would come to me. And I think there are a shocking number of people of all ages who probably fell into that same trap. I grew up in a women-dominated family where the men were incredibly supportive of whatever I wanted to do. They supported me getting into science. They supported me getting out of science and into the arts. I was told I could do anything, and I believed it to the extent that I believed it was true for everyone. I went to an all-girls school, which had high hopes for me, that pushed me to do my best and told me I could do anything, and still I believed it. I got a job in a female-dominated industry and did very well at it. I got 2 promotions in 2 years. And then one day I walked into a room with an author, a slightly old-fashioned author, and I went over to him, I introduced him and told him my job title. And he looked me top to toe and he said, "Oh, really? Like, how dare this 23-year-old woman hold this moderately senior job title? How could you possibly be competent?" And although, I'd experienced catcalling and I'd experienced, the kind of everyday sexism that all of us many of us brush off and too few of us stand up to, that was the first time I'd ever truly had my competency questioned as a result of the fact that I was wearing a skirt. And from that day forward, I started trying to educate myself more and teach myself what feminism really meant. And that is a task that is still ongoing and I'm still failing miserably at because, the fact of the matter is I don't know enough about feminism. I will reblog with the rest of them. I will talk about it with my friends who have a similar upbringing to me and are on a similar journey of what the fuck is actually happening. But, I'm aware that I'm still doing pitifully little and that there are huge swathes of society, entire demographics, groups of women who, through no fault of their own, are having a much, much tougher time than I am. And that, for me, was what yesterday's march really brought to the forefront of my mind, because those women were marching next to me, but so were people of my mother's generation who have a shockingly similar attitude, a lot of the ones I spoke to, as I did. It was the first time, the march yesterday, they felt they knew how to translate their anger and frustration at, the words, the cause was the words of Donald Trump, but their anger and frustration of the world that they've been handed into action. They were told where to be and they knew that putting their feet on the pavement counted them, among the people that cared. But, what now? And that's what kept me up last night. It was a combination of the adrenaline of the day, how brilliant it was to see those images of people across the world going, what the fuck is happening? We will not stand for the most powerful man in the world, essentially devaluing women. But at the end of the day, what happens next? And that is what I'm challenging myself to work out. I very much doubt I'll figure it out by next week, but is to learn from the people who have been shouting and I have not been listening to for the longest time, to listen to people who have experienced, fighting the kind of battles that I'm only now becoming aware that we are fighting, and, attempting to find ways in which I can put my privilege to work. The fact that I am educated and the fact that I am safe and warm and the fact that I have a government that won't put me in jail for speaking up how do I put that to work for people who have not had the same chances I've had in life? And I think that is something I would like to see some more coverage of over the next week. I would like to hear from other people who are working out how they can be activists in their own community. I would like to hear from, the press, right? So you marched on Saturday, you stood up and you were counted, and now here's what your next step is. Because I don't want to waste this energy. I don't want to waste the energy that I feel. I don't want to waste the energy I felt yesterday on the streets of London. I want to try and find a way in which I can keep shouting and keep riding that wave of positive female energy and, actually use it to enact change, because we all know how quickly these things go away, how quickly the next big horror story can take over from it, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go back to, talking politics in my own echo chamber, thinking everything's fine, and then just reacting when the unthinkable happens. I want to become proactive, and I've always considered myself political, but the time has now come for me to be politically active, to be an activist. And so my goal for the next week is to make some progress in figuring out what that means and talking to people who, are already so many steps ahead of me on the road to working that out, learning from them, and then trying to start putting it into practice. And that is an impossible goal in a week. So keep checking on me through the year, because hopefully that is something that I can work on and actually genuinely will make a positive difference, not just in my life, which at the end of the day is one white woman's fairly dull life, but on a global scale. So if you've made it this far through the video, thank you for listening, and I'm aware that my perspective is incredibly narrow, but please know I have been and will continue to make efforts to broaden that. And if anyone would like to talk to me about, how the fuck I can improve myself, and, if anyone's running anything that they need, words or writing or just feet, volunteers, whatever, please do get in touch, because honestly, I'm putting my hands up and I'm saying, I know shit, teach me your ways.